You not only have a president who, in his last at-bat on this issue, has comported himself in a fashion categorically devoid of any understanding of the Constitution, because the words you just heard are words that he's currently walking away from through his behavior. But we see, you know what, I'll tell you what, let me just stop right here. I want to go right to my guest. Too much to fit in this show. Let me get right to it. Old friends of the show, none other than Bob Weiner, Democratic strategist, columnist, and former communications director for Clinton Drug Czar General Barry McCaffrey. He's also former chief of staff of the House Committee on Aging. Bob, good to have you back.
It's a pleasure, but Republicans would criticize Obama if he does, if he doesn't, pick either, so he did, and he got it done.
Bob, I'll go to you first. The White House is claiming Obama has the prosecutorial discretion to permit 2-year reprieves to illegal immigrants arriving here before they're 16, but who are not yet 30. You're familiar with this. Now, did Obama go beyond those legal bounds he cited earlier last year as the reason he couldn't do basically what he just did? Your take.
You know who's not going to challenge him? The Republicans, who I've seen all over the talk shows that said, oh, well, if we were going to challenge him, we'd have to go to court. I've never seen a more reluctant Republican Party. Found out that he had 55 votes in the Senate, but as in all else, the Republicans filibustered it. So the only way to get something done, since he already has doubled border...
is to violate the Constitution.
Do it by executive order.
It also doesn't matter how frustrated they are. Just like with the Richard Cordray thing, Bob Weiner, you might remember he was saying, oh, you know, I can't work with a do-nothing Congress, so we're just going to go ahead and appoint Richard Cordray, head of the Consumer Bureau, the Consumer Protection Bureau. And the reason I'm doing this is because I shouldn't have to put up with the do-nothing Congress. Well, the do-nothing Congress measure was never incorporated in the Constitution. The measure is whether or not both chambers are in recess. And when the Senate was most emphatically and empirically verifiably not in recess, a recess appointment was made by this president, nonetheless, in the form of Richard Cordray, also a number of appointees to the National Labor Relations Boards. Do you think the president's going to have trouble in this regard, Bob Weiner?
Well, I haven't seen the court case on that one either launched. So the Republicans will talk one way but act another when they realize that they refused Elizabeth Warren to be allowed, so they were really blocking the whole bill. And Obama called them on it and had a big, fat Justice Department memo that showed how he was legal in appointing Cordray.
He wasn't legal. There's nothing legal.
Blocking the bill that they passed.
There's nothing legal about this. I mean, you have to be...
You have an agency with no director?
I'm saying if you have... No, that's not the measure. The measure is the process for assigning that director. The agency was legal... No. The agency was legally brought about, but it was not legally manned at the top. That's the difference.
You know, I talked to Congressman John Conyers, the ranking Democratic leader of the Judiciary Committee, and he also knew it was a fraud that they were calling those sessions when all it was a gavel with a 1-second "we're here so we can block you."
The Holder Justice Department did put together a nice fat memo saying what Obama did on the Cordray nomination was correct, but the New York Times wondered if the Justice Department had given prior advice on the subject. So it asked. It got back a document. Washington Post, June 16th. Check it out. The White House blacked the entire thing out except for the signature and the title. It doesn't want the American people to know what the Justice Department was advising before Obama wanted to appoint Cordray. Again, liberal paper, another liberal paper put in the request. This isn't the Republican Party speaking here.
I guess, Bob, eventually everybody on balance prefers freedom to authoritarianism, even if that authoritarianism might be coming from their own side. Your take on this, Bob Weiner?
Everybody also prefers not being conned when a bill is passed that's supposed to protect consumers and the Republicans simply don't want it, and they try every which artificial way to block it, including having pro forma sessions. I'd like to see, exactly what is meant by pro forma versus recess, because when one equals the other, then that's the basis of making sure that Obama moved forward.
If Obama's appointment wasn't getting the approval of the Congress, he could have found another individual. It really isn't rocket science.
Well, that's a problem with Republican thinking, is that they think anything that relates to consumers, health care, the survival of the American people, anything other than war is not as important as national security. American values go a lot stronger than that, and consumers not having another Great Depression is very important.
Does he have constitutional footing, Bob Weiner?
Well, that's what matters to you. What matters to the American people in his determination was that the Republicans in Congress were defrauding the American people as to what is a recess.
I'm thinking we might see the health care mandate pulled out, but perhaps potentially the rest of the law standing. I only say that because Justice Ginsburg, when she was talking about it, said this is one of our key concerns. And, of course, that would be a moot point unless they were going to throw out the individual mandate. Bob Weiner, your sense?
The Republicans on TV have been saying that what they want to do as a substitute, they've been saying, oh, well, we'll enact all the popular stuff, is state lines and stop frivolous lawsuits. That's all they want to do is tort reform and allow over state lines. They have no way to do the rest of the bill. So I hope that the court at least allows all those provisions to stay.